So I'm trying a new setup here in my spare room. The subject of the drawing we're making is going to be the wardrobe in my spare room, which has nothing to do with the writing of C.S. Lewis. It's just about the object that's there and the clean effect we got. I hope it will work because I will have to work through two cameras. The object, as you can see, is vertical, standing upright. So I am going to draw onto the vertical standing sheet of paper. Always let the format of your drawing follow the subject. If you just make the drawing, if you start filming or producing for a film, please bear in mind that all screens and big movie screens in the cinemas are in landscape. So there's absolutely no justification for shooting footage in portrait in vertical upright position. Here we're going to work with the split screen. The subject is standing upright, and I'm going to try and measure my object with my pen through my camera and not step in front of. Here you can see my hand. I've got my little smartphone set up just above there on my eye level, so I'm going to imitate where I look on the one screen, the split, and draw on my paper here, and hopefully not step in the way all the time. So let's start the recording on the second screen. So it's a simple object. It represents everything you might want to project on paper. Always start with the basic shapes. Even later on, if you move on to human anatomy, basic shapes are crucial. I see that my wardrobe seems a bit lopsided through that screen. It's a bit tilted to the upside. Anyway, so our challenge is to get this little bugger here onto my sheet of paper. And the sheet of paper is probably bigger than I would require, which might mean a lot of work later on when I go to the hatching. What do? The first thing we want to know is, like we've checked, and I can double check this with my arm. I'm going to try, and the problem here is that I will never have the same distance to what I measured, so every time I measure I will have to do it again, which isn't the case when you're outside sitting. There, your arm, the length of your arm, the distance from your pen to your eyes determines what you see, and you always have the same distance. Here I will have to guess. So I'm measuring the width of the wardrobe and try and figure out now. My little easel is in the way. 1, 2, it's roughly 1 on the side by 1 up to there to roughly 1 by 2. So that's the scale I have to work on in my drawing. So on any sheet of paper I might have what I do now, and I'm going to make it a bit smaller here because I might have to assume certain skew contortion later on when I draw. See, like this already shows that I'm standing slightly tilted, not getting that line down straight. And you can control yourself there easily because the distance to the sheet of the paper should always be the same. Now, any page you take, you know it's one sideways to the top, you can determine the maximum amount you want to reach, the maximum size. So if you go here, I'm just using another pen in my other hand. This is not the same measure. It's just a ratio, 1 to the side by 2 to the 2 on top. So here we can check 1, 2. No, that's not it. I can go 1, 2, perfect fit. Wouldn't work the same way with a different pen, but now sideways. Let's keep this steady. I don't know yet how wide this is. Once you get some experience, now my easel's in the way again, keep the line straight, keep the line straight. Once you get some experience, you won't need all these lines anymore, but just work with the dots. Just go down, drop down here, roughly to this spot. First you're going to start with making little markings. Is this horizontal? Yeah, that's horizontal. go to here, and then drop down here. So these frames are good for beginners to start with. Obviously, this vertical line I will need because that is the edge of my object. So it's no point leaving that out and making it extra difficult. If you know there's a line, there's a line. So that's step one. So you can fit, by this you can guarantee that your drawing fits on the sheet of paper. If you start in some corner, you will never be sure if there's enough space, if the bottom drops off or not. So the next thing we're going to look for is like what ratio do you see? So now I've got the space it fits in. I don't know yet exactly what angles we have. I have to work quick because my other camera doesn't have that much time. Now the next thing, which is quite recognizable, is the shady side here in comparison to the light side there. Then on the top I have the edge of the room and the floor angles and the little reflection, the telltale, that tells me this is a mirror surface. But first I want to know is, where is this corner here? And for that I'm gonna again try and see and measure just that distance and go sideways. 1, and I see like, okay, I'm already at the middle of the wardrobe. And 2, this thing here might actually be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So roughly a fifth of my entire drawing, two-fifths of my entire drawing I would need for that. So I could go and measure fifth up here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Are these fifth? 1, 1, 3, roughly. So that's again me measuring how wide is that here in comparison to what I've just measured. So this would be one option of looking for a fifth for this angle. And that would give me my shady side, my corner of my wardrobe. What else could I do? I could grab this one, this side. Let's try and get the same again. It's now this wide. I stay where I am and I go to the bottom and look like 1, 2, 3, 4. No, that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. What else could I take? Well, actually, I don't see anything convenient at the moment. 1, 2, 3, 4, and something weird. It's no point going that way. So now we know it's 3/5 to that side and 2 to the other side. What else can we measure? We had this for 1/5, so I can actually almost drop down here because that is to the edge of the mirror. Now, if you look at the wardrobe closely, you'll recognize that the middle door is slightly smaller, or the mirror is a small section. I have to bear in mind that this door is the closest to me. They're all equally wide, but this is closest to me, and this is, if I measure from, get closer to the camera, if I measure this, compare to that, you can see it's obviously much more than the 2/3 we had here. So the mirror is really small in my drawing. So last really crucial step in a simple object like this, considering the time I have, is measuring the angles I got down here. How does my object tilt? One starting point would be, especially if you were looking at buildings, is on what level would be your eye level when you're drawing, and compare everything to there. You can measure the distances again, like how far down is it? Can I see that looked through the screen? 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, that's actually a fifth of the total length. But as there's nothing happening there, it's pretty pointless in actually measuring that out. But I have to bear in mind, it's pretty high on my drawing. Which also can be seen when I put my pen on the upper angle. I see that the top hardly tilts at all, just ever so slightly. Just a pen width to there and a pen width to there. It's nearly nothing. So I can hardly draw these lines in here. I have to be really careful not to exaggerate them. I can't even measure them because the degrees are so low. Now on the floor, that's a different matter. I mean, the floor nearly, I can hardly see my pen, but there you can just see the pen of the bottom of my drawing, and there you can actually name the angle this thing here goes, and that one is a bit, there's a part missing, but there's a part taken out there, but you can roughly guess the direction. So if I'd have to name that, I would compare the floor angle, the timber, to a ruler, something like that. How far, how many degrees will that go up? And I can see this in total would be 90 degrees. If I go 45 degrees, it's definitely less than 45 degrees. I would aim for 30 degrees, that I can name. I always name what I see, and as you can tell by my continual yapping, I'm quite accustomed into talking while I draw. As this would be 45 degrees? Yes, that should be 45 degrees. And that's like half the angle. It's like slicing a pizza up. Quarter pizza divided in half. Is that it? It looks that way to me. Maybe a bit less. Maybe a bit less. Now we're almost done. We can also double check now. How high is my wardrobe there? How much do I have left? 1, 2 and a tiny bit. And compare that to how often it should fit in there. 1, 2 and a thumb maybe. And look down here. 1, 2, less than 3. Look through the camera, Henning. 1, 2, 2.5. So if I find the same ratio between this on the paper and this front, I know that my angles are roughly okay. Whereas if they differ too much, there must be a mistake. There's no other way. I can also like compare how high is my angle on the bottom there compared to a straight line. This much compared to this much. How often does this fit into that angle? Well, almost twice, I'd say. 2.5 times does that. 1, 2. No, not really. So one of the two is slightly off. So it does serve to control yourself in your process. Go there. Where's my? I can't see my thumb. That's the problem. Yeah, twice, roughly twice. Twice is okay. 1, 1, 2. Yeah, on average we are fine there. So that would be the basic start. It looks like shit now. There's nothing on there yet, but I do have the proportions in, and that's what I was aiming for. I don't need much in my drawing. If I look at this floor, I know that my floor here comes a little higher than my entire wardrobe. I haven't figured out this angle yet, but I know it's working to the same vanishing point as this side and that side. Somewhere to there it goes. It's pretty close to the bottom. So I can already guess like there, that's my vanishing point, so it would appear somewhere here in the mirror. The mirror just continues the entire drawing. So I have that. My other camera has just quit working, which is fine by me because I got the main part of the drawing. And now I can resume here without any hindrance. So this side of the wardrobe is pretty boring. When I do the shading in the end, this goes up. Then up here, I do have a little ridge, which is too small really to measure the decoration on the top. I know that this is just a double line, almost in line with the rest of my surface here. Go almost to the top. Tiny difference up there. I hope I'm not getting into the image too much. That would take away most of my the whole point of the exercise of making the video, not the exercise itself. 70 here, that is one top, and I look again, where does the back corner come in? That should be roughly above the mirror here. So actually this line here has a lot more meaning in my drawing. Same as this would be the wall line. And down here, from this corner, which is the edge of the wardrobe, I see we follow the same angle as this line and that line. So I guess where my vanishing point is should be roughly there. Or I can also, if I continue this, I already got my corner up here. See? That's the nice thing about having that angle here already, and this sloping side of the vanishing line. Then I know exactly I have to come, if this side is correct, then I have a bit of space behind the corner standing there, because the floor is slightly tilted there. And you already have a point to measure from. The bottom decoration is rather minimal, same as the one on the top, so I have to guess how wide is this. There's no point in actually measuring that when it's so thin. That's when we reach the realm of guesswork. Continue these lines. The side here is considerably smaller than the one we see there, because that's just the side of the wardrobe, not of the door. Don't go all the way to the top. Again, that bit is a bit too small to measure, but I could compare the floor poster to, hang on, that's not so bad, that is. Well, the little rim we see here has almost the same size as the door without the mirror. Is that correct? Stretch arm, measure. Yeah, it goes like until the doorknob. So roughly this bit I would need. That lovely decoration on the little table that drops into the door. Again, this line now becomes extremely helpful because I already have my vanishing line there. I should control if the back side I've drawn here, which it's of course the back side of the room to the wardrobe is, no, that's the same. So I have a parallel projection so far. So this side and that side shouldn't be equally wide. How does that come? Where does that come from? Well, probably from not having guessed this angle 100% accurately. Well, if this goes further to there, no, it comes closer. It should move here, so that moves there, so that the side becomes smaller. I mean, roughly, we have to be sure that we aim to the same vanishing point. Of course, we could extend the whole line, but something tells me that this line up there isn't 100% accurate. This line for a suggestion of a room is good enough. This will not do. So now I have my task here is to be sure that where I'm aiming on this side is shorter than there, to be sure I have my perspective in. So that's the top of the tableau, and that is split in roughly thirds on the bottom there. And here we have this little rounded arching decoration. Again here, this goes to that vanishing point. We do see a bit of material if we look closely. It's also slightly tilted. Thank you, IKEA. Goes straight up. Sniding at the construction nudge there, not too much Could make this one a lot thicker. We got that. This is where the door lines come in. Stop here, stop right there. I want to know right now, before we go any further, do you love me? Do you love me? What was I saying before? I'm always yapping when I'm drawing. And that's not just a habit that I've picked up, this would be the mirror, that I've picked up for teaching, but something I did before without realizing that. When I was drawing, stuff always had a name, a title. So if you find yourself chatting with your drawings, telling stories about, for example, characters or places that are not really, that are developing with the picture, that is a good thing to do. I mean, most people would declare you nuts, but it's breathing some life into your drawing, and it will help you identify spots. Like, that is that in that corner, that is that in that dog, that is the knob, that is the charming little nudge my ex-flatmate left in the wardrobe in there by bumping it and almost breaking it. But that gives it character and style, and that's something you will always start to look for, because this little spot is almost at the little door wedge there. How far up are the handles? Are the handles halfway of the doors? Yes, they are. So if we another measure, ducks, somewhere in that zone, we should see these tiny little. Oh yeah, I have to tell you all about ellipses soon too, because circles in perspective, all circular shapes, are turning into ellipses. So that they're not circles anymore, they get like nudged, and they're not egg-shaped, they're not pear-shaped. It's a regular shape they receive. And that is quite useful if you want to do, like, example, castles of towers, but also for everything related to anatomy. Because if you want to drape a bit of cloth over an arm, the arm has to be shaped in perspective. For that you need, guess what? Ellipses, because the arm you first reduce to a cylinder, a tube, and then you can guess what the folds of the fabric are going to do. So that's roughly the first part of the wardrobe. And now I would go on. I think I have everything. I can do a bit more. This needs a bit of the table decoration. Is that? Hang on. No, that's already it. That's already it. That line was getting too much, wasn't it? That's that door. Yeah. This needed to come further. See, that's what happens if you don't pay enough attention to your lines and forget to name them. Now I can look on these objects here. It's a bit like what I told you about all the material thickness of windows. That again occurs here. You need them. These lines are thicker than the ones dropping off the object. So yeah, that was me preaching about the naming of things, the naming of parts of objects. You'll have a much easier task with the horizon if you're actually drawing a building and can look for windowsills, because the windowsills of a building, when you draw it around the corner, like on the corner, like looking this way onto an object, you'll see all windowsills and also brickwork tilt in perspective in that way or in that way. And when you find the spot where both sides fall together and your pen can move straight through, that is your eye level.